Hello and welcome. My name is Shawn Cavallo, and I serve as the head of entertainment partnerships at World Vision Canada. And welcome to the Vision Journal podcast, where we spotlight the people, ideas, and stories shaping World Vision Canada's mission to protect and empower the world's most vulnerable children. Today we have Jordan Janzen, singer, songwriter, frontman of The Color, dedicated father, philanthropist, entrepreneur. Over the last decade, Jordan has led The Color to the very top of Canada's contemporary Christian pop scene. From their 2 Juno Awards for Contemporary Christian Gospel Album of the Year in 2018 and 2022 to numerous GMA Covenant Awards recognizing their impact. So Jordan, thank you so much for being here today.
Wow, that was quite the introduction. I appreciate it. Thanks for having me.
I put a lot of thought and effort into it. I know you work hard and you pour your heart into everything you do. So you definitely deserve that. But getting started here, can you tell us how you kind of fell into, or maybe it was more intentional, but how did you pursue Christian music? How did you fall into it?
Yeah, it definitely felt like I sort of fell into it. Actually, my parents were into Christian music before I was born. They were playing in a Christian rock band called Sojourner, and there was guitar solos and everything, and oftentimes I mentioned that from stage, and people are like, "Oh, I used to listen to their music." I'm like, "No, it's very, very unlikely." But I like to say that though it did not have a great impact on the world, it certainly did on me. And so I grew up with this understanding that music was something you could make, and they wrote their own songs and they put on shows. And then they started to kind of pivot as I was born and more kids came into the picture. They started to move away from the rock show and more into leading worship in the church. And so when I was 7, I was a part of it. From age 7 to 21, I was up on the drums. And it was a really unique and crucial experience, I think, for my faith development and just kind of understanding that music was something you could pursue beyond simply listening to other people's songs. But there was also this element of worship and Christian music where it was not simply about entertainment, that it was this way to connect with our Creator in a worshipful sense, but also to connect with other people and to share these songs of hope. So it really, truly did set the course of my life.
That's awesome.
Yeah, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, like, just the influence of your parents there. A lot of the times when we think impact, we're thinking big waves and big things. And a lot of the biggest impacts I've had in my personal life has been those, I don't want to say small because they're so intentional and they actually change the direction of your entire life. But from a surface level, a lot of people would be like,
Right.
hey, what's even the point of this? And the fact that ripple effect could be amplified more than the original kind of version of it is like, that's kind of how impact works. It's not about changing the world. It's changing the world for one life at a time. And I really resonate with that story. So curious, how did you connect with World Vision? How did that kind of, in your pursuit of Christian music, all of a sudden, how did you connect with World Vision Canada and the artist program?
Yeah, that's a great question. Out of that season of life when I was leading worship with my parents, I started to play guitar, sing songs, write songs. And so right out of high school, actually when I was in 12th grade, I entered this singing competition in Manitoba called the Manitoba Christian Town Search. And through that, I got an opportunity to go on tour with a girl named Amanda Falk, who was a Manitoba artist at the time, now Amanda Cook. And so we went on tour, and it was kind of during that season where I was like, oh, I'd really love to make Christian music and become an artist that I was seeing through Facebook and other social media, MySpace. It started to see these other artists that were Canadian artists who were going on these trips and working with World Vision Canada. I remember a guy named Greg Zabel. There was Brad Rempel from High Valley, Tim Neufeld from Starfield, among a few others. And they were just doing this thing. And I was like, man, that's really interesting. And early on in my music career, I had a gentleman speak into this idea that, hey, you have an opportunity to be on stage and to be a voice for people who don't have a voice of their own. And so don't waste that. And so all those things kind of came together. And then we were making music and releasing our first album as The Color. And we got nominated for some GMA awards. We went to the awards, and it was there that we were officially introduced to World Vision Canada through a guy named Matthew Grieve, who was running the artist program at the time. And so he saw us there. He was like, hey, I like your vibe. We should sit down and talk, have some wings, and talk about what it could look like. And top of 2013 was when we began the relationship.
Okay, so you mentioned a key thing here, chicken wings. No, I'm not. I'm
Yes.
not going to go on a tangent. I'm not going to go on a tangent there. So part of my job here at World Vision Canada is to work with artists such as yourself and find creative ways to fundraise. And one of the core initiatives that we focus on is child sponsorship. And it's very common at Christian concerts or events to have someone to share their perspective, their story, that's somehow tied to child sponsorship. And can you kind of walk us through what that looks like at a concert with The Color?
Yeah, I'll try to give you sort of the practical version, but we've included World Vision, we'll call them appeals, in almost all of our concerts that we've been in charge of. So if we're headlining and kind of own the night, then it's a part of what we do. And typically what that would look like is each and every night we are taking 10 to 20 minutes to share about the impact and tell stories of what has been happening through World Vision, what we've seen with our own eyes. And so typically if we have an opening act, right at they play their set and then we come up, or I come up after and start talking. Usually I'll kind of make a connection to the fact that, hey, I'm here, I'm a dad, I got kids, talk about my family, and then say, hey, there's other people in the world who are living just in circumstances that are so different than anything I've experienced. And then I share about what I have seen across the world and seen the impact that World Vision has made, and then very intentionally give people an opportunity to respond. So what I'll do is my bandmate Tyson will come up and bring me a picture folder, which is a folder that represents a real child. It's got their face, their name, a little bit of information about each kid on the inside, and I'll hold that up and say, hey, we're here to sponsor kids, and then we'll take a few minutes for people to put up their hand and say, hey, we want to sponsor, and then my band guys will walk through while I play a little song, and they'll put up their hand, and then we'll place them in their hand, and that's sort of the start of this relationship where they fill out some of their personal information. We take a 10-minute intermission. They bring that back to the World Vision table that we have set up in the lobby, and that's the start of the relationship. It's pretty cool.
It sounds pretty simple, but throughout the years, I want to say over a decade, right? Over a decade, since you're doing this since high school, so it's at least 3 years because you got to be at least 20,
That's right?
Okay, so
25
over
not quite.
over a decade, The Color, you guys have raised more than $1.5 million by introducing your fans to child sponsorship, which is amazing. And even your phone is excited about that. I heard the ding, so
there it is.
That means another child sponsorship. But over the years, obviously, you talk to some fans that probably have engaged with child sponsorship. They write back and forth some letters and stuff like that. Is there any anecdotal stories from some of your fans / World Vision donors that you hear with engaging with their sponsor child?
Yeah, I mean, candidly, when we kind of look at our demographic and try to sort of see what's trending, what's happening, what are people responding to, and we're at this point. We started as a band that played a lot of youth groups and a lot of youth conferences, and as we've gotten older, our audience has kind of grown up with us, and so we kind of have this core fan base of like age 30 to 45, and they have a lot of young kids, and so we found that the connecting point that's been most effective for us is really just touching on the reality of the stage of life that we're in, which is, for myself, I have 3 kids, and so often I'm talking about my kids and making that touch point. And it seems like families who have young kids really can relate to that, and sort of saying, hey, these are our kids. We know how much, like if we had somebody else across the world who was kind of vying to support my kids because they were in a dire and desperate situation, like we would just be so thankful. And so being able to sort of put ourselves into that position seems to be something that our fan base connects with. And then we also have people who have known about World Vision, who have sponsored previously. I mean, COVID has been an interesting season where a lot of people had to be like, I can't afford to do this right now. And so we're seeing in the post-COVID era, people coming back to it and saying, hey, I used to do this. I know it was effective. I like to have this relationship with my child, and now it's time to get back and do that again. And so we kind of have all sorts. We sort of have the middle, like the people who have the families, the people who their families have grown up, and then we have this other group of people who are getting married and are thinking about it for the first time. So it's kind of interesting because you think sometimes you think it's oversaturated. People have heard this 100 times, and there's truth to that, because if you go to a Christian concert, you're often going to get something like this. But we're still seeing a response in the midst of that, which is really quite cool.
I like that. I like how you're seeing parents, fathers, mothers kind of respond to the whole, like, wanting to leave a philanthropic legacy. That was the
Yeah.
two big words there. But like I resonate that as a new dad. I resonate with that a lot, and we'll get into that in a little bit more. But you're on the road a lot, and I'm
Yeah.
guessing 3 to 5 months a year, sometimes more, maybe a little bit less. But like, I
Yeah.
need to know what really drives you, what challenges you, and how do you maintain that balance as a father, an artist, and maintaining great hair?
Well, I appreciate that. Um, yeah, I think that's a question we're asking ourselves on a pretty regular basis, and there's been ebbs and flows where we've been like, "Oh, this is worth it," and maybe this isn't. I think at the core of what we do, we believe that God has. My wife and I believe that God has given a gift to communicate, a gift through song and through speaking. And so, when I think of just what we find in the Bible, this parable that Jesus gives about the talents and how one of the guys takes the talents, buries them in the ground, and God's like, "What are you doing?" And then, or the yeah, I'm doing a very poor job of paraphrasing the story, but the point being that God has given us this talent, and the desire is to not waste it. And we feel like this is the season where this is what it looks like, and maybe this won't always be the case, but that's kind of the drive that keeps us going, because it has been. My wife and I have been married for 16 years, and music has been a part of that throughout. And when we have 3 kids and it's a lot more complicated, and me being on the road means that my wife has to balance her work as well as kids going to school and daycare and all these pickups, like it's not an easy thing. And so that's been the driving force right now.
No, I get that. And I just want this to be kind of like a public reminder that I am a fan of not only your music, guys, but the heart that drives. I've been able to have the opportunity to witness it firsthand and
Yeah.
create this relationship through over the years. World Vision artist partners such as yourself sometimes get the chance to visit the field. You know where I'm going here, but
Yeah.
tell us a little bit about a few of your opportunities to visit the field. When I say the field, we're talking about countries that World Vision has some programs in, and we'll take some of the artist partners and see the work there so you could share that story with Canadians. So you've had that opportunity a few times. Where did you go? What countries did you see?
Yeah.
What did it look like?
Yeah, our first trip was back in 2014. It was 2 of us who were in the band at the time. We went to Guatemala. And honestly, that was a trip that was kind of, we were at the time, I don't, arrogance probably the right word. You kind of have this expectation and you think you know everything. And we were pretty young at the time. And so that was really a trip that just kind of opened our eyes to the reality that it was just so much bigger and deeper than we ever imagined, the work that was taking place. We got to go in these communities that were on whatever early stages, mid stages, end stages of World Vision, being involved in these communities over this whatever 16-year span that they were connecting with at the time. And so that was incredibly impactful. We kind of came in with these questions or wanting to poke holes and be like, hey, kind of critical about it. And we were just absolutely blown away by what was actually taking place. Even the simple fact that when it comes to World Vision communities and the partnerships they have, they're working with local people. I just didn't know. And so that was really kind of earth shattering to us. And so that was really the moment we were like, okay, when we got back, we were like, we need to lean into this thing. It's really making a difference. And then in 2018, we had the privilege as a whole band for the first time to go to India. And then again in 2024 to Nepal with you. And so both of those trips were so impacting. I think for the guys in the band who had not been before, it was sort of that earth shattering. It's like the veil is kind of pulled away and you're like, oh my goodness, like if people understood what exactly is happening in the field, all of the questions about, I mean, you get the stereotypical Canadian questions of like, where's the money going and what's the percentages and all those things, which are good questions to ask, but you're just like, oh, there's just so much more to what's happening than what you realize when you've never seen it. And so, yeah, life-changing trips, just understanding what is actually happening in the world, the difficulties that people face, but also the hopeful side of it where this is really making a difference.
Yeah, I feel that. And going to Nepal was my first experience. I'm fairly new to World
Yeah.
Vision Canada. It's just over a couple of years, coming on to 3 years now. And I remember having the opportunity and being overwhelmed with what I was seeing, what I was feeling, what was happening in my life during that time. And to be able to share it with you guys was one of the most extraordinary one of the most extraordinary experience in my life, and I was so grateful to have that with you. And I just sent a video clip on your cell phone, okay?
All right.
And it's gonna be a video. It's the first clip. And this is kind of one of the experiences we had together in Nepal with the kids. And Jordan, you came up with the concept. You want to do a Canadian game with some of the kids. So we came up with the concept of doing a fake snowball fight. So I want to show you the edited video there. Can you play it and just check it out?
I got it right here.
Let's go. It's pretty epic. Pretty epic.
That music is so epic. Checking my hair. It's appropriate.
Here it is. Here it is. This is the moment.
So we're about to get abused. That hurts so much. I just couldn't stop.
I love the dust flying everywhere. Just dirt and dust.
That's awesome.
And you're wearing a white shirt there, aren't you?
Yeah,
you thought
that shirt is destroyed. I can't wear that ever again. It's just wrecked.
That was
awesome.
one of the funniest moments where we came up with the concept, and literally we were trying to find some fake snowballs or something, but they weren't heavy enough to throw. So I was looking around, did some research, and I was like, we could buy like wool laundry balls so they'd have a little bit of weight to them. But we had to buy like 100 of these things. So I packed them in my suitcase, brought them to Nepal. And then when it started happening, I remember being like, oh, this is working so well. And then seeing the look on your faces when these kids were pelting you, like full blast. I was like, oh, these things are actually hurting. When they're running away, they're actually running in that video. And it was so fun for me to witness that, Jordan.
I'm sure they were relentless. I'm sure you got hit too. I'm sure.
I got hit a couple times. One of the things we didn't realize is like some of these kids, like cricket's pretty popular in Nepal. Right. So some of these kids have arms, man. But the biggest takeaway is just like those barriers where it's just like sometimes we create divides in our brain and we forget that like kids are just kids. It doesn't matter where they're from. Humans are humans. Love does not have boundaries. Love doesn't have like conditions. Like a human connection is a need. It's not a want. And to see those kids light up that quickly and they're just like game on, wanting to get engaged. And you guys were in it. You guys were such good sports. I was gonna say good sports in the way of your mindset. We're good sports as far as the actual athletic part of it. I would doubt, but it was an amazing experience. And then after this snowball fight, so recapping a little bit, you talked about child sponsorship, and the Color has raised funds at their concert. Picture folders are packets, and each packet represents an individual child waiting to be sponsored. And on the front of a pack, actually, I got a packet right here. So just for a visual here, this is what the picture folders look like, and you see the photo of the kid, and each packet represents an actual child that's waiting to be sponsored. And I remember coming up with a concept with you guys and thinking it would be such a cool idea to have the artist, to have you guys actually take the photo that would show up on these picture folders. And then some of these picture folders with the photo that you took would show up while you're distributing to maybe some of your fans or audience members that won the shows. And I was like, this would be a really cool concept. So after that snowball fight, we had some time to hang out with kids, but also had the opportunity for you guys to take some photos. And we coordinated this, and all of a sudden, holding a picture folder has a brand new meaning in my life. It's tethered me back to the reality of the work that World Vision does. And I'm curious to see how that resonates with you, that experience resonates with you, not only as an artist, but also as a father. Because there's something that really hit me there, and I'm curious to hear your thoughts.
Yeah, it certainly was impacting, I think, for a lot of reasons. I mean, we've seen hundreds and hundreds of picture folders on our, I mean, we're typically the ones setting up the table and kind of going through the whole process any given night. And so to see those faces over and over again and put them on the table and like kind of mindfully placing them there and hoping that these kids are going to get sponsored in the course of a tour, you get to see the same faces and names, and you're hoping that they're going to get sponsored at some point. And then at the end of the tour, just that, I mean, the celebration of the positive, but also the reality that there's so many kids that I'm putting back, and just the reality that we weren't able to get them all sponsored, it carries a level of weight. And then for me, it was just very interesting to see the process and to understand that a lot of when we're taking those pictures and we're looking at the list of the kids that we're going to take the photos of, like there's a priority that starts with the highest needs, and like some of these situations are just incredibly difficult, and to be the one obviously taking that picture was just a totally different perspective that, like you said, it just kind of brings it back to reality that these are real kids with real struggles, and that we have an opportunity to really impact their lives. And so I think coming back now and very intentionally having a focus of with the kids from Nepal over the next little while, it just feels close to home. I mean, we got to see it and experience it, meet a lot of these kids, and hear a little bit about their journey, and just truly excited to help them.
Jordan, during this process of taking the photos, you met a girl named Tanky, which is your new sponsored child right now.
That's right.
And what did that connection feel like? Well, you're taking these photos, you're taking a photo of Tanky. What's happening in your brain at that moment?
Yeah, I mean, it's a wild situation, because you're like, okay, we kind of went into it knowing, okay, we as a band, we'd love to sponsor some children here from Nepal, because we get to meet them. It's just kind of a cool connecting point, and it's just a different level of depth to the relationship as we go back home to our families. And so for me, it's like, whatever, if there's anything that kind of catches your eye or draws you in, like just go with that feeling. And so this girl in particular, her name's Tanky. She was just a beautiful little girl who just had something about her that reminded me of one of my nieces. And so that was my thing. I was like, okay, we're gonna move.
It was a family member. It was a family member. I remember that, and there was something that connected with you. I want to share. So I sent a couple photos to your phone right now, and I want to share this, and we're going to put it on the screen as well. But the top left photo is you meeting Tanky for the first time.
Go. Yeah.
The bottom left is you taking the actual photo for the picture folder of Tanky. And then the third folder, we never actually printed a picture folder of Tanky because you ended up sponsoring her, so we didn't have to print one of these things. But I was able to go into the World Vision back-end reservation systems and pull up that photo, and it blew my mind. And I just kind of want to show you, like, it really just tethers back to the reality, like, this is real. And for some reason, through donor fatigue or whatever the disconnect is, like, we lose that sometimes. And I want to send that to you just as a strong reminder of what you're doing has so much purpose. And I know you also kind of feel that as well, because after the Nepal experience, you came home and you were inspired to write a song. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, you are right. We you and I kind of talked about what we could do with this thing, and what do the next couple of years look like as we start to share stories about our trip. And it's one of those things where you kind of have this window of time where it's fresh, but like, how do we set it up so that we can just be telling these stories and it can continue to draw people in? And so we do all the regular things. We make videos, we capture our time in that way, because we know we're gonna hopefully be able to share it from the stage. But we just talked about what's the next level, what can we go do to have a lasting impact. And we just talked about trying to write a song. And the reality is, with Nepal, there's certain things that you can say, and there's certain things you can't say, and there's certain things that we share in some of our music that maybe doesn't quite work with with what's going on in the country. We want to be super mindful of that because we don't want to, for any reason, cause any sort of risk or be detrimental to the cause. And so, talked about writing a song, and very specifically, I mean, it was candidly, it was you that sort of brought this idea, being like, hey, we took all these pictures. What would it look like to write a song that's sort of specific to that whole experience? And we wrote a couple different versions of the song to really try to dial it in. And I'm so thankful with where it ended up, and just really speaking to the fact that, hey, when we talk about sponsorship and when people are experiencing a night where we're talking about it, they get to see these picture folders. And it's not hard for those picture folders, when you see them so many times, to sort of lose just the significance. And we wanted to remind people that behind each photo, there's a story, there's a life, there's so much more. And just kind of playing off of that saying that a picture's worth 1,000 words, and just the reality that there's some valuable, there's a ton of valuable lives behind each one of these pictures, and they each have a story, and we want to share them and just remind people of what they're truly getting on board with.
Yeah. The song is called 1,000 Words, and the analogy you guys use is a picture speaks 1,000 words, or a picture is worth more than 1,000 words.
Something
more
like
than
that.
1,000
Yeah,
words.
Picture,
and I love that analogy that we worked out, especially since you guys were taking the photos. If you guys want to go and check out the music video, don't do it right yet, but we'll keep a link below. It's 1000words.ca. Go check out that experience, the song about the color visiting Nepal, taking those photos, and kind of be a witness to that experience as well. There's a lot of artists, actually, that get inspired by World Vision trips, and some of the best content they credit to World Vision. We were speaking with Tom Cochran, and he was talking about some of the achievements he made with Life is a Highway. And
Totally.
he was like, it changed his life, and he wrote a song about it, and it was so cool to see that resonate with so many people, and to see the value that our artists get out of it and what their fans can get out of it as well. Because the thing I never really expected, and I think as Canadians, we always have this thought that giving means compromising yourself or some sort of burden or loss. But for me, especially recently, I've been surprised to learn how much value this has added to my personal life, and it's allowed me to challenge myself and grow and be uncomfortable. And as a human, seeing what I've seen has allowed me to develop a massive amount of gratitude and appreciation. It's also made me more aware of just the appreciation. It's so cool to see what value this brings in so many people's lives. As a dad, as a husband, as a father, as an employee, I'm going on a rant right now, but broadening my awareness, developing my empathy, putting myself in uncomfortable situations. You know, Canadians, we're so comfortable, and it's shifted the core of who I am as a father. And it's affected my career, my growth. And I've heard some economic stats, psychology stats, and even health stats. Like, one I was curious about, like, why is this change happening in my life? There's data and evidence that shows, like, how impactful this is for the donors as well, if they retain, like, a relationship and write to their sponsor kids, and how much value that brings in our own life. So I really kind of went on a tangent here, but, like, if there's a listener here being like, hey, I'm not in a position to give right now, and it's like, we totally get that point. But I also want to kind of point out there's a lot of value that comes out of it, and I'm so thankful that I've had the opportunity to see it through the lens of the work that you do, and be a part of the songs and movements, and see you guys kind of work to raise funds and awareness for World Vision Canada. So thank you for that, Jordan.
Yeah, thank you, and thanks for sharing what you're sharing. And there's reality that I think it's not my job to, like, force it upon people. It is just to have the opportunity to communicate what we've experienced is such a privilege. And so I'm excited about what's to come in the next little while, and what's to come even as we're kind of getting into tour mode again, and excited to be able to share these stories.
Yeah. One last thing. I sent you one last little video. You don't have to watch the first thing, just like the first 20 seconds. And it's a little update from Tanky. It's not much, but I want to give this small gift. Just look at her light up. That laugh, just. So this is Tanky, And this is a recent video of her checking out your Christmas material. We know you're on tour right now with your Christmas tour. And so you got some fans in Nepal as well right now, man. So there you go.
That's awesome. What a view. It's crazy.
It was beautiful there. Beautiful, man. Well, I want to respect your time, and thank you so much for taking this moment to kind of share your heart and experience on the World Vision Journal podcast. And hopefully we'll see you again, but I know we're going to see you guys on the road. We're excited to see what you guys are doing. If you want any plugs right now, this is your time, Jordan. So any new songs, new tours that you want the audience to know about?
Yeah, I mean, right now we're kind of in the midst or wrapping up our Christmas tour. If there's a few shows left, come on, check them out. We got new music being released. We have a new album that we've been working on over the last couple of years, and 1,000 Words is officially out as of November the 21st, which is very exciting. It's the second single off of our 7-song album, and then we're going to be slow rolling it out over the next few months. And so, yeah, check out the music. Stay up to date with our online presence, our Instagram and stuff. You can check out our website at thecolouronline.com, and everything will be. That's the point to go, and you'll find everything else there. But yeah, we're in a season where we got new stuff, and that's an exciting season to be in.
Well, thank you so much, man. All the listeners, check out thecolouronline.com and 1000words.ca to check out their new single. Thank you, Jordan Janzen of The Color, for joining us on this podcast.
Thank you, Shawn.
We'll see you soon.